Hey everybody, this is Zolani Mahola from the band Freshlyground. You are listening to the Gareth Nelson Show. Enjoy the music.
All right, we are joined by South African music legend Zolani from Freshlyground. Zolani, how are you doing?
I'm cool, Gareth. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Okay, how did it start for you? I mean, how did you get into singing, and then, of course, later on into Freshlyground?
I got into singing quite late. I was studying at UCT. I was studying this theatre and performance degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I happened to meet some guys when I was in my first year, and we started a punk rock band,
Okay,
and that was really fun
yeah.
for about a year, and then I got fired from that band because I was a reprobate. And then I was singing. I happened to be singing in a play at drama school,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy who had started Freshlyground saw me in that play, and he invited me to come and check out their band, and I went to check out their band, and the rest is history.
And how would you say it's going with the band? I mean, do you enjoy the process of making music with the guys, etc.?
I love making music with the guys. No, it's great. I mean, it's 16 years now that we've been
Wow.
together, and we've just produced our 7th album. So, yeah, it's good. I'm happy.
And career highlights for you? Things that have stood out for you in your career so far?
A lot of things. There've been great collaborations, like collaborating with Oliver Mtukudzi live, and then last year, this year for our album, we collaborated with him
Mm-hmm.
actually on a CD, not a CD, I guess, but we recorded it,
Mm-hmm.
and that was quite amazing. And playing with various artists like Vusima Hlasela, playing at Radio City Music Hall in New York
Mm-hmm.
with Stevie Wonder. That was amazing. Opening for B.B. King in Paris.
Oh, wow.
They've been amazing things.
And, of course,
The
being
World
on
Cup, of
a World
course,
Cup song, I was
also.
just going to say.
Yeah. That too.
And things that have lowlights of your career, things that you would regret or could do differently, would you say?
Yeah, I think when we had our major success with our second album, and then our third, I think we got a bit complacent. I think, and we didn't really, because we'd just been making music just for ourselves, and we hadn't expected such sudden acclaim and such sudden success. I think we didn't really know how to capitalize, and kind of I don't know, just like grind, which isn't to say that we didn't work hard. We worked very hard, but I think that we just couldn't jump on a lot of stuff. Like even also like the World Cup summer, I think we missed some opportunities there because we're musos, we kind of, I don't know, I think we've missed some opportunities. So that's a bit of a low light, but I think that said, we're still making music 16 years later. We're still able to make a living out of this band, and we're still kind of traveling the world. We still see in so many countries. We still connect with so many fans. So I think it's okay.
And what do you think of the sort of current state of music in South Africa at the moment as it stands?
I think it's quite exciting. I think that there's a lot of people who are doing really, really wonderful things, and I think that the level of production is it's so much better than when we started making music back in 2002. It's just like leaps and bounds. And it's so diverse, and there is such an interest from the rest of the world about our music. So I think.
And the state of international music at the moment? I mean, do you think that there's a sort of shift away in genres, that there's more focus on, say, EDM kind of music and hip-hop, etc.?
I don't know, I think as humans, we are, what I think globally is happening is I think a lot of stuff is starting to sound a little bit samey, for me. And I think that where we could be, as artists, kind of doing a better job, or whoever the powers that be, who make stuff popular, put stuff on the radio, is to have more of an eclectic mix, and I think it's so important to hear the indigenous voices. I think it's so important to hear stuff that sounds like where it comes from.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you listen to South African music, it should sound South African, but shouldn't really be sounding American. But I think that's just a global trend, and we're all kind of moving towards, I don't know, oneness, but we lose something in that.
Well, that's my next question for you. I mean, if you think of the way the internet has taken over things and social media, etc., do you not feel there's like an oversaturation in terms of musicians coming through because pretty much anybody can make a song on their computer?
Huh. I hadn't thought of it like that. No, I think it's great. I think it's great that there's so much stuff around. The saturation thing is an interesting thing, particularly coming from South Africa and coming into an international space. I mean, she's trying to crack it in America above all that noise, above all the stuff that's out there, and and the UK as well. It's just like, it's hectic. I mean, you look at a band, an incredible band who is so incredibly successful, like Goldfish, and they've just moved to San Diego, and they're working really hard and they're getting a lot of gigs, but it's still hard even for them, But that said, it's a vibe, it's a challenge. It's a challenge that you have to be willing to kind of to meet.
Yeah. And that takes me right to the next question, in fact. I mean, what would your advice be to young artists? So some young girl comes to you and says, I want to be the next big thing, I want to be a singer. What would you advise her or any young artist?
I would give them two pieces of advice. The main piece of advice I would give is that you have one voice. You have a unique voice, and everybody's got a unique thing, that defines them. And I think that's what really makes for kind of real long-lasting success is for somebody to be able to say, oh, that is so and so, or I could tell, from the moment they opened their mouth, that was them. And then the next thing is to be prepared to work hard. It's a very tough business. It's a very, very tough business. So to be prepared to work hard on your craft, if you on your instrument, on your and to know your business. Those days of having a manager or somebody, some like big, omnipotent figure, that's those days are over. You've got to be involved in your business. So I would give those pieces of advice to anybody coming up in the industry today.
And as a songwriter yourself, what inspires you to write songs? I mean, is it something to do with your life or like the country, or what inspires you?
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, to be honest with you guys, I've hit a little bit of a dry spell in terms of writing, and I don't know if that's to do with raising kids and or whatever.
Right about that.
But I am. It is a little bit. I am in a little bit of a funny space in terms of my writing, but what has inspired me in the past are stories, are my personal stories and stories that I hear from other people, just my reflections on the world, and other people's reflections on the world. I think stories are so very, very, very important, and that's why I'm a singer and that's why I'm an actress.
And do you think that music is that unifying voice that can, bring up people from the ground, as it were, and help people in those hard situations, especially like South Africa? I mean, it goes through some interesting times. Do you think music still has that power to do that?
Definitely, I think music has great power. I think without even having to say anything, music can. Yeah, just the sound of something can evoke something in you. And I mean, you look at examples like the World Cup song. I mean, the 2010 World Cup song at least. That song I think it spoke to people a lot because that song, I don't know if you know, but that song came from it's from Cameroon.
Okay.
And it was written by a marching band in the 60s, and that song is actually that refrain that Zamina Mina Zambali the Waka Waka is something that traveled all around around Africa, West and East Africa, and so a lot of people actually had knowledge of that song already, and it sort of and had I don't know, there's some heart to it, you know.
Yes,
and
yes.
by the time that collaboration came about with Shakira, there was already something. There was already some energy around it, and it caught on like wildfire. And then you kind of compare that to this year's World Cup song.
Yes.
And it didn't make a dent,
No,
you know.
no.
So some songs, for whatever reason, can have the power to unite, can have the power to, I don't know, lift somebody up.
And when you look back on your own career, when you retire one day and said, I've had enough of singing, what would you like your legacy to be? I mean, what would you like it to, the legacy you've left behind for your fans?
For me personally, I would like people to have felt like, oh, you know, because she felt brave enough to be herself or to do her own thing, I feel brave enough to do that. You know, so not that they will emulate me, but they'll be like, geez, I saw something that was different, you know, or unique. Meaning that gives me also permission to do my thing. I think, geez, that would be an amazing legacy.
Yes,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, indeed. Well said. And the future for you and for Freshlyground?
So for Freshlyground, so as I said, we've just released our 7th album. It's called We Can't Stop because we can't stop. And
I hope you never will.
Exactly. And yeah, we released the first single off it, a song called Black Girls, and from there we started spinning. You know, this thing about storytelling that I'm saying. We've got a little thing on our YouTube channel that we started talking to girls and women, starting with Black Girls at the moment because that's the name of the song. Just talking about the nature of creativity, the nature of individualism. And so we started that conversation. So that's an interesting side thing that we're doing. Otherwise, we just came back from a wonderful tour in Europe. And the next song we're going to release is a collaboration between us and a cappella group here called The Soil, which I'm sure you know.
Yes.
So it's a really great song. People can already hear that off stream it or whatever, buy it from my album Can't Stop. Otherwise, for me, I've got a few things on the boil. I'm starting to really maybe think about being serious about my solo career, which I will have in conjunction with Freshlyground. So I'm not leaving the band or anything, but I want to start doing my own thing in a more serious way.
Yes. And is Freshlyground in a healthy state? Is the band still working very well together? Everybody happy, as it were?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we're rehearsing right now.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we're just working on some new material.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we look forward to it and excited for everything that's coming up with you and the band, of course. Zolani, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today on the Gareth Nelson Show. It's been an absolute privilege chatting to you, and hopefully we'll have you again.
Thank you very much for the interview, Gareth. Thank you.
That's only a pleasure. All right. Thanks, Zolani.
Okay. Cheers, man.
Bye.
Thank you.